hip, almost like a hip pointer, but it's behind the hip.
And we guys are on the show. How are y'all doing today?
Doing great. It's a pleasure to be with you. Thank you so much for the opportunity.
Yeah, so you guys have been cracking a lot of eggs lately and busting them open. There's so many things that are going on in the school district. I'd like to get an update on where you guys are at. You're closing out the school year. You've had great retention rates. You've got an amazing budget that's set towards a lot of objectives. I'd just like to hear from you guys today and tell us a little bit more about what's going on.
Well, first off, Stephen, thank you for the opportunity to come on this morning to just highlight our students, highlight our teammates. And I've got one of my best ones with me this morning, and Miss Janette Schmidt, our personnel director, former Meade County High School principal. And I'm just glad I have her with me because she's one of 600 plus teammates that we have that we talk about today. But having a really good school year. We are close to landing this plane, and we have a few days and a lot of celebrations coming that we're excited about with graduation, awards nights. Students, this is a special time for our students first and foremost because they have an opportunity to enjoy these remaining days with their classmates. Field day, these are the things that make the school experience special.
Sure. So, Janette, can you talk a little bit about your experience when you were the school principal for Meade County High School and now what role you're playing at the school district?
Absolutely. So I will always treasure the moments of sitting in the seat as the high school principal.
Right.
I am Meade County High School alumni. I bleed green. There's no better place on earth than Meade County, and I fully mean that. Meade County High School built me, so getting to be the principal of Meade County High School was a true pleasure. I miss it every day, but I'm thankful in my new role. I'm learning lots. It's a totally different role.
Right.
But I get to get into all of the other schools. I'm learning about pre-K. I'm learning about primary, elementary, and those are all great experiences for me. But I'm really grateful for the culture that we have.
Right.
And district office welcomed me with open arms. We truly have the best culture, the best people ever of anywhere. So yeah.
So it's very strategic, I would assume, at that level for you to be taking on this new role because, like you said, you got your hands in everything. So what is the biggest thing that has kind of impressed you about being at this level now compared to where you were before?
Absolutely. I get to see the bigger picture. As high school principal, solely focused on what's going to make this high school better and trying to improve the high school. Now I've got the bigger lens of how do we improve, at the district level, and getting to sit and work across the table and right next to Dr. Martin.
Right.
It is helping me learn and grow every day, and I'm very appreciative and thankful for that.
Well, I'm super excited that you're in the position now, and I'm so glad to finally get you guys. We've been busting schedules for quite some time. Dr. Martin, going forward this year, I've talked to Nancy Tate, Steve Meredith. They went 30,000 lines. I'm sorry, I got to get this right. 30,000 lines of budget. Okay. And then they had the rainy day fund, right? So they took money from that and they distributed monies to all the schools to help them decide how to use that money, whether it's for student or teacher pay raises or whatever. And then each of the county or districts are getting a little bucket of that money. And from their conversations, they talked about making sure that it was fair because you got smaller counties that, they can't match or compare to us. So trying to make sure they get an equitable distribution and not just based on total student population because it's expensive today, and making sure that they have enough money to cover, economy, right? So you've been very successful in teacher retention, which is a large problem brought before the legislation this year. What is your secret?
Yeah, I don't think that we're perfect. I don't know we have a magic bullet, but I think we have a process. We're always chasing a process, prepare kids for a quality life.
Right.
Right? Mm-hmm. Well, part of that process is putting the best people in front of them. And I think we all know, anyone watching this now knows we've been through a worker crisis more than just education. You know, my wife is she's a nurse practitioner, and she's seen it in the past few years. It's in every field of work. So just speaking bigger picture, to me, there are so many components, and yes, pay is a big one, and we'll detail that, but it's also culture. It's connecting people to their purpose.
Yeah.
Connecting people to their why, and that rings true in education.
Yes.
Because we have a lot of talented people that work for us that are very connected to helping serve students, and specifically serving the Meade County community. So I want to say this first. Meade County Schools has historically been a great district. Well before I showed up, well before Ms. Schmidt was a student, alumni, and now one of our teammates. So there have been so many great leaders, teachers, classified teammates that have laid the groundwork, and it's an honor to be in this seat. There's the pressure. But pressure's a privilege, right?
Hey.
And we've got to make sure we're pushing the ball up the hill with our time in our seats. So what do I think we've specifically done well in recent years? I think connecting people to their why. You know, whether your job is I'm teaching first grade students, high school students, I'm a custodian, I'm on the food service team, knowing that my role matters and supports the students, and getting connected to that. And we've done that strategically, and I know Ms. Schmidt's going to tell you more about our strategic plan during our time together, but having great, transparent, two-way communication. When I became superintendent in 2020, that's what my board members were talking about, and I agreed with them, like, how do we have better two-way communication? So we've implemented some strategies, such as rounding from this seat, from our principal seat, all the way down to every single one of our teammates each year is rounded with. Yeah. And they're asked a series of set questions, and we take that data, we study trends, we survey all of our teammates each year, and we try to say, okay, here's a trend we're seeing. Yeah. If we can't do something about that, let's explain why. Yeah. Or, yes, this is an area we need to be better at. Let's strategically, whether it's financially, let's put some goals together to see if we can do something about that, and then have great communication. So I think that our people overall trust why we're here, trust that we're here about students first. The second part of our slogan's team always. And we're always trying to make sure we connect people back to that. And you have to have a culture to position you to do those other things. Pay, all those things are so important. And I think we've done some great things historically the last couple of years, and we'll continue to here in the near future. Yeah. But having a great culture where people feel valued and connected.
You know, I told you earlier before we started the show, I served 32 years in the Army. And I know you don't have military service in your background, but what you just described in definition is servant leadership. And your ability to knock down barriers and make yourself available. And it sounds like you're doing the same within every position that has a responsibility, whether it's the smallest person or the largest person, that they make themselves available to communicate, and that they're one position is no better than the other position, because without all of its parts, we wouldn't move as a machine. That's what I just heard you say. And I will tell you that it takes years for some people to even learn that. And the way you just described it, it only explains why we are moving in the right direction as a school district, and you bring those barriers. And that also comes with talent, so hiring the right people for the right positions. And so now you've got Janette working at the strategic level and moving out of what was probably your comfort zone. You probably loved it, right?
Absolutely loved it. The pressure was high. I was always on. But yes, absolutely loved that position.
Yeah, I think that goes back to your philosophy there, though. You know, what do you need? Is it finance? Is it personality, something you need? And then and sometimes people need to move out of their position and then to move up. Sometimes they're just afraid to take the step. I'm not saying that's your situation, but sometimes you find talent and then they feel like they're stopping themselves, and you just got to move them out of that comfort zone into the next position too, is also an invaluable.
Steve, you make a good point. A lot of it's about fit. So to be a Meade County employee, we have a standards of practice document. That this is who we are. Ms. Schmidt, I believe, has a copy today.
Good. We'll talk about that for sure.
But you got to be a team player.
Yeah.
There are some people that aren't a fit for Meade County schools because they would rather be on their own island. That's not the way we operate, because to do what's best for all students, from your gifted and talented students to your students with disabilities and everyone in between, it's a team effort. And if you don't play well with others or not willing to, right, this is not the school district for you.
Yeah.
And the good news is that we have so many hardwired historical practices here that our people, we have young kids that are now in our educational pathway that dream about teaching here. I went to Painville Elementary. I want to be a Painville Mustang, and they've noticed since our current principal, you know, she grew up in that culture.
Yeah.
That's all she's ever wanted to do is teach, be there, and now she's principal there.
Yeah.
And we're lucky to be positioned for that, but we got to make sure that we continue to play into that, I guess you would say, and ensure that our people understand the honor it is to be a Meade County Schools teacher. We want to have what we call in our leadership team a humble swagger.
Yeah.
We want to be very confident.
Sure.
But we also want to give glory to others, and we want to serve others.
That's right.
As you mentioned.
Yeah.
And if we make it about that, it's not about me, it's about we.
This
is a we thing.
I love it. I love it. I'm excited. Well, hopefully I get to be a part of this along the way, because this is just one step of many I hope to do for the school and the school district in general, because there's so much that y'all are doing and so much that gets unrecognized. And since I, kind of have the voice of the community, I'm trying to make the messenger the community landing spot for what's happening in our community. I think papers across the country have lost that and then been gobbled up for other reasons, care not to talk about. But, for the purposes of Meade County, I had a strong, this paper needs to be something different. You know what I mean? And so like this studio and the ability to have this conversation. So you were talking about the strategic way ahead. I'd like to transition into that. Let's take a quick break to bring in a commercial note, and we'll get right back to it. So y'all stay tuned. We'll be right back.
Guided by a strong work ethic, devoted to family, and a state senator getting things done. Steve Meredith, he's working for us. A no-nonsense conservative, Steve cuts through the bull in Frankfort. 100% pro-life and pro-Second Amendment, Steve Meredith is protecting our values. He's fighting inflation by cutting income taxes, putting money back in our pocket. And Steve supports our veterans. He has their back in Frankfort. Believe in Steve. Vote Steve Meredith for State Senate.
That would help explain it concisely.
Okay.
Guided by a strong work ethic, devoted to family, and a state senator getting things done. Steve Meredith, he's working for us. A no-nonsense conservative, Steve cuts through the bull in Frankfort. 100% pro-life and pro-Second Amendment, Steve Meredith is protecting our values. He's fighting inflation by cutting income taxes, putting money back in our pocket. And Steve supports our veterans. He has their back in Frankfort. Believe in Steve. Vote Steve Meredith for State Senate.
This is Thomas Ballinger. I humbly ask for your vote May 21st as your next Kentucky State Senator. I will work tirelessly towards securing funding for the 5th District public utilities and roads. Without strong utilities, corporations will not invest in our communities. I am pro-Second Amendment, no red flags. I will fight to protect and improve the teachers' pay and retirement and hold the Department of Education to a higher standard with legislation. Our children are our future. As a veteran, I will fight for better VA benefits and stronger legislation to protect us. I'm against abortion with no exceptions. If elected senator, I will provide legislation that makes sense. I'm for less regulation, less government control, and more freedom for the citizens of the Commonwealth of Kentucky. As your next senator, I will represent you, not the special interest groups. It will be an honor to represent you in Frankfort. This is Thomas Ballinger. I approve this message.
Paid for by Thomas Ballinger for Senate.
Your vote matters. Go to the polls May 21st.
Not tell you what an honor it is. The first segment we had, and we're talking about, I just got chill bumps because it takes a lot to do the hold on a second, I got that background going. It takes a lot to do what you guys are doing, and it sounds like the teamwork that's happening between you and everyone down, and I say you, both of you, all the way down to the lowest level. I got goosebumps just feeling that energy. But I know y'all have a strategic plan going forward, and Janette, I'd like to get into that. Could you tell the audience a little bit more about where the school is going and some of your strategic plans?
Absolutely. So I am honored to be here. So thank you again, Steve, for having us. But yes, we're finishing up our first strategic plan under Dr. Martin's leadership. We're in the third year, finishing strong. And I knew coming into my new role that part of my job is to recruit and retain. And a lot of that comes from some of the goals of the strategic plan. A couple of the goals that come along with my work, how to improve the employee experience. How do we improve the two-way communication so that we can improve that employee experience? And then how can we recruit and retain the best of the best and keep the best of the best? Because we all know the magic happens in the schools, in the classrooms, and that's what makes us better.
Absolutely.
All of our people working together in the strategic plan under Dr. Martin's leadership has allowed us to work together collaboratively to make that happen. So we through increase employee engagement through surveys.
Right.
But I think the most profound way that we've increased employee engagement is through rounding. And I know Dr. Martin introduced rounding just a little bit ago, mentioned it. But it is truly, we meet one-on-one with our people, especially our new people, onboarding our new people and keeping them connected so that we can retain and so that the word gets out of how we treat our new people. That matters.
So it's funny you say that. I have a good friend. He was the post-sergeant major, Mario Torinas, right? His daughter goes to West Point, graduates West Point. She's a new lieutenant. She's down at Fort Campbell. He was just in town a couple weeks ago because I'm the AUSA chair president, right, for Fort Knox. And he's in town from national. He's at National AUSA. And, of course, him and his wife, Kelly, are in. Vicky and I get to see them, and it's a great visit, right? So he goes down. His lieutenant daughter has yet to meet her new battalion commander. Biggest mistake ever made anytime anybody arrives to a new unit, especially if you're one of your key leaders, which is a lieutenant in the Army. Believe it or not, they're important because they're a lot of times, a doer for some other leader and just not making that connection. I think that's brilliant that y'all are going in that direction. Not to compare the Army to civilian, but that's leadership.
Yes.
That's leadership involved. And if you're not involved, I mean, that's the biggest breakdown for retention, in my opinion. But
yes, and we can learn from our new people. We want to learn, hey, what is it that we said when you came in? If we're meeting 90 days after they were hired.
Right.
Are we doing what we said we were going to do? Because we never want to hire a person and then it be different than what they thought they were coming into. And so those conversations and that onboarding process and just being real with people is so critically important. And I know that's important. And I knew that was important coming in as personnel director. So that helped set me up. And, that strategic plan that Dr. Martin led, that helped set me up to help lead the personnel team with where we needed to go. But it goes beyond meeting with new employees one-on-one. I mean, Dr. Martin rounds with all employees in groups throughout the entire district so that two-way communication truly happens. Yep. I stay connected and our team stays connected from the district office level with our principals because we have got to work hand in hand with one another. It's important our principals know what we're doing in our offices for our employees so that they know what to do at the school level. And so it's a collaborative communication. And then building that culture. So part of the strategic plan, the development of the core values of our school system, what we call the standards of practice. And I brought a copy of that. And you all mentioned servant leadership earlier. Well, guess what?
It's right on there.
So this is truly
nailed it.
Yeah, this is truly who we are on paper, and we share this with our people. If you're looking to come to Meade County Schools, this is who we are, and we strive for this every day. We are not perfect, but we're always striving for this every day.
Hey, Lord, let me tell you, I know about not being perfect. I've had to do so many retractions and redactions. I'm working with a skeleton crew when I took over the paper, and we don't get it right all the time, but I'll own it. You know, and if we made a mistake, misquoted something, got somebody's name misspelled, I'll take it all on the chin all day long, as long as everybody knows it was not with malintent.
Well, that's important. It's important to own up.
That's right.
Yeah. If we're going to mess up, we're human, right?
Yeah, that's right.
we own up to what we do, and we move on, and we get better because of it. So
let's talk about some of the products of our strategic plan. Janette, tell us a little bit about just where we are with subs in general, where we were during the beginning of the pandemic and now where we are.
So substitutes have been very, very hard to come by over the past few years. Even before COVID, Even before COVID, we were having a hard time with subs, but COVID made that even worse.
Sure.
So we now have more than 200 subs on our list. In 2021, we had 155. So we have grown exponentially with our subs. And that's a critical piece, making sure all of our students are served by an adult. There were times when I was high school principal when we would have to combine classes for one person to oversee three sets of classes. And,
sure.
Periodically throughout the day, that's just not the best case scenario. So growing our substitutes has been a huge push for our personnel department in our school.
It's nice to have a bench, right?
Yeah.
Well, and then just in general, my colleagues in other districts in Kentucky, some of these are larger than us, but they may go the whole year without 3 or 4 math teachers, or they may have literally anywhere from 40 to 100 openings throughout the year where they're just going unfilled. And I think that's probably what you've heard from others across the country, not just Kentucky issue.
Yeah.
And where we may have 1 to 2 when we get to September, October, people have more openings with no applicants.
Yeah, and right now we have 15 certified openings posted. We have 25 classified postings. So that's 40 total postings right now. And I feel pretty good about that, especially when I do look at other counties around us. And, I don't know specifically exactly the why behind that, but I feel like some of the things that we're doing is helping. It matters. The culture, I think, is one of the biggest pieces, and the onboarding process. So under the strategic plan, this is the 3rd year that we have had a new teacher induction program at the district level. And one of the things that I'm asked the most when I go to job fairs from seniors who are graduating to become educators, they will say, well, what do you do for your new teachers? How do you onboard? What supports are in place? And I get so excited when they ask me that question, because we have a great program that we run from the district level that I inherited from Miss Ricky Hanger, Mr. Mark Adams. They set that program up. I inherited it this year. So, again, I was set up for success coming into my new role. And that's been a pivotal piece, I think, in the recruiting and the onboarding and retaining.
And if I could just add,
go ahead. Yeah, go ahead.
Very quickly about our surveys. I want our listeners to know that's not a survey we're creating. That's not a survey we're monitoring.
Yeah.
That's coming from a third party. We work with Huron, Studer Education. They work in hospitals on customer service.
Sure.
We have been in a partnership with them for the last 4 years. It's an anonymous survey. And what I'll tell you is that we rank at the highest in the state of Kentucky of people that take that. Wow. We have, for the last 3 years, we've taken the employee experience survey, have fluctuated between the 93rd and 98th percentile.
Wow.
Okay. And when you compare us on like a net promoter to businesses, as Ms. Schmidt said, I go to all the schools each winter and I round with bus drivers, Barry Hahn Primary, Meade County High School, whoever it may be.
Yeah.
And I share information with them that, just to be consistent and transparent. But on our net promoter, we finished 2nd amongst all businesses.
Wow.
We actually beat Chick-fil-A this year by 1/10 of a point.
What?
So that was a big celebration for us. And I've joked with everybody, and I'll tell
catering.
you the same thing. We did lose to Starbucks. Starbucks was like way out ahead of KFC and all these others. And I just said, if we could serve free coffee to our people. But my finance officer says I can't do that. But if I could just have like a coffee hut like you would see out in the West Coast, man, I could
get the marketing team to come up with and brand a coffee there for you as a branding project for teachers anyway.
And what our people tell us in our survey and our comments, the vast majority of our 600 teammates, they feel connected. They feel valued. And one of my favorite comments we see is that even if I don't like the outcome or the answer I get during a rounding or for a superior, I always get a why behind it. And I'm told, like, hey, I can't do this, but this is why. And I can accept that easier, right? We can't make everybody happy. When you try to make everybody happy, you make nobody happy.
Yeah, if you can't get the why and it's just a complaint, it really isn't helpful to you from a strategic standpoint to find a solution. Or maybe there is no solution because once they give you the why, you already have the answer as to why, their why can't be met.
And I think from a leadership perspective, and we talk about this a lot with our team, and we have for the last few years, is we got to leave our egos at the door to do what's best for students.
Yeah.
Because we're not all going to agree as admin, principals, teacher groups, but what's best for students?
Yep.
And if we can say, okay, this is adult convenience, right? Let's leave that at the door. And you got to have thick skin for two-way communication, because I know a lot of leaders in education and other places that say they want feedback, they really don't when
they can't handle
rubber meets the road.
Yeah.
So we've got to continue to humble ourselves as leaders to be servants.
I keep a thing of Rhino liner next to my desk, so every time somebody takes a chunk out, I just put more on.
That's right.
That's a joke. But okay. You have formed the team. They talk about storming, norming, and performing. You're in a performing state. You have people that want to be here. Budgetary-wise, teachers across the state are frustrated. They want pay raises and all this other stuff, but you seem to be tackling both well. And I think I did some research this morning and yesterday in preparation for this. Y'all are about 19-1 on student ratio for the county as an average. I mean, there may be a class that's not exactly that, but the teacher to student ratio is about 19-1, and you're keeping all the seats filled, which is not the same for a lot of the other 170 districts across the state. You're doing this. How are you balancing the distance between, obviously, I want to be here because the environment, and sometimes that makes up for a lot of money in a lot of situations. But, I mean, our inflation rate is ridiculous. Teachers have families. And, how are you doing in that department in comparison to the rest of the school districts to make a monetary stance as to why you should teach here?
Yeah, so I'll be transparent with you, just like I was our people. I have been for years. We have to make sure that we keep financial priorities in mind, and we have to make hard, difficult decisions to put our money where it needs to be.
Yep.
So our formula, especially for competing with those east of us who are taxing at a higher rate than we are,
100%,
and they're taxing more than we are.
Yes.
And we compete with them.
Yep.
And culture will only take you so far, right?
That's right.
You got to have that first. But our formula is for making sure we protect our general fund dollars. So you hear all the time in education, there's different pots of dollars.
Yeah.
There's taxes that go this way to build a new school.
Right.
To renovate your middle school, whatever it may be. Those are not dollars you can pay people with.
There's different colors of money.
That's right.
I try to tell this to people all the time, and teachers mostly, because sometimes they don't get the strategic point of view and have that complete layout understanding.
But you owe it to them to tell them.
Absolutely.
So when we round, we tell them these things.
Yeah.
We want to make sure we educate our people as well as possible. But it's cutting excess every year to say, you know what, that program, that position, whatever it may be, that did bear fruit in 2013.
Yeah, doesn't bear.
It's not bearing fruit today, and that doesn't mean it's the person. It's not personal, it's professional. And how do we say, where are we spending dollars that really we shouldn't be spending dollars?
Yeah.
And having the professional courage to say no.
That's the same thing we'd like to have out of DC, though, I think, on both sides.
And then what we do is we go back to our financial priorities, which for us has been paying our people.
Yeah.
Right. So we've had historical raises the last 2 fiscal years.
Very good.
And we're going to have another one soon. It's going to come very soon from our board.
Do you find it helpful when the legislature focuses on those opportunities to shift additional monies to the schools?
There's 2 ways to make money. It's going to come from Frankfurt, or we're going to generate it locally. We're going to generate it with raising, taking the 4% on taxes, or we're going to have to cut staffing, whatever it may be. And a lot of times it's a combination of the two.
Right.
Right. Because you're only going to get so much money. You always want more, just like we want to pay our people more.
Absolutely.
But what I'll tell you is the last 2 years, it has been the largest classified raise that we've ever given as a school board.
Outstanding.
Our 5-team board members. And some of those ranges go all the way into the 30-something%, whether it's custodian, a bus driver, whatever it may be, depending on where they are years experience.
Sure.
The last 2 years of certified teacher raises have been the largest since 2005, 2006.
Outstanding.
And we've messaged that to our people. And what we're about to do is going to continue that trend even higher trajectory, and that will be coming out very soon. But it goes back to what we said when we rounded. I said, I got 2 priorities this year. I want to put money in your pockets again, and I want to buy more school buses. That's it. Right? And we're going to take every single dollar that we got from Frankfort to do those 2 things. And when we communicate our raises, which will be next week, we'll be able to say, and we've done this 2 years in a row, this is what we are projected approximately to get from Frankfort. This is what this raise cost. And then I'm going to say, I'm about X amount of buses because I got to continue to improve my fleet because we haven't been able to do that as much because we've been prioritizing salaries. And I will communicate it just that way, verbatim in writing, to all of our teammates. And whether they agree, disagree, you can't say there's not transparency.
Yeah. I 100%. I find that in all of my years' experience to be straight, transparent, and upfront, and let them see the numbers and how you came to the decision and why that decision is important. It's a lot easier pill to swallow, but when you compare to everybody else where they stand compared to other people that's teaching in the same profession they are across the state, man, you're in a great spot.
Yeah, and we have to always we don't ever have a rival syndrome, right?
I don't. Yeah, I don't.
No. I know you weren't saying that, but like for example, we were losing people 8-9 years ago, and I'm not going to get into all the why because I don't know all of it probably, but I'll tell you, when you can go to Hardin County and make $10,000 to $12,000 more, and you're in your last 3 to 5 years as a teacher, we lost teachers at Flaherty. We lost Meade County High School teachers, and I will tell you, they came back after a couple of years because they could make more money, but
money is not the solution to everything.
And it's not just Hardin County; it's Bullitt County, it's Jefferson County. But when we look at salaries, when we study with Miss Susan Fackler, our finance officer, we have the best in the state. We look at how close can we close that gap? We're not going to ever tax what they tax. We don't have as high a rate, but we need to be within a tank of gas. So what I'm really proud of when we look at this next week, and most of our salary schedule were years ago, districts more commensurate with us were 10 to 12,000 ahead of us. Now there may be 4,000 ahead of us, $4,400 ahead of us.
Yeah, that's a lot of growth.
And that makes me, you know what? I think I'm going to teach at Flaherty. I'm going to teach in Brandenburg.
Yes, we're within striking distance, and that matters to our people.
Yeah.
And anytime we do anything, whether it's a cut to our general fund, if it's like, hey, we were spending dollars there, now we're not, or we take the 4% on taxes, it is going to be about people. This is a business about putting the best people in front of our kids, which when our schools are at their very best, guess what else happens? Our houses are worth more. People want to move here. Well, this all works together.
I was going to say, you guys are also responsible for that good school environment. Makes people want to move to Meade County and live here. And obviously, without raising taxes, more people paying taxes means more revenue coming in for the schools and stuff like that. So I'm going to take a quick break. I'm going to go to a commercial again, and then we'll be right back. I would love to hear more about what you guys have going on, but we'll be right back.
Sounds good.
This is Thomas Ballinger. I humbly ask for your vote May 21st as your next Kentucky State Senator. I will work tirelessly towards securing funding for the 5th District public utilities and roads. Without strong utilities, corporations will not invest in our communities. I am pro Second Amendment, no red flags. I will fight to protect and improve the teachers' pay and retirement and hold the Department of Education to a higher standard with legislation. Our children are our future. As a veteran, I will fight for better VA benefits and stronger legislation to protect us. I'm against abortion with no exceptions. If elected senator, I will provide legislation that makes sense. I'm for less regulation, less government control, and more freedom for the citizens of the Commonwealth of Kentucky. As your next senator, I will represent you, not the special interest groups. It will be an honor to represent you in Frankfort. This is Thomas Ballinger. I approve this message.
Paid for by Thomas Ballinger for Senate.
Your vote matters. Go to the polls May 21st.
Guided by a strong work ethic, devoted to family, and a state senator getting things done. Steve Meredith, he's working for us. A no-nonsense conservative, Steve cuts through the bull in Frankfort. 100% pro-life and pro-Second Amendment, Steve Meredith is protecting our values. He's fighting inflation by cutting income taxes, putting money back in our pocket. And Steve supports our veterans. He has their back in Frankfort. Believe in Steve. Vote Steve Meredith for State Senate.
Stay tethered to our...
Guided by a strong work ethic, devoted to family, and a state senator getting things done. Steve Meredith, he's working for us. A no-nonsense conservative, Steve cuts through the bull in Frankfort. 100% pro-life and pro-Second Amendment, Steve Meredith is protecting our values. He's fighting inflation by cutting income taxes, putting money back in our pocket. And Steve supports our veterans. He has their back in Frankfort. Believe in Steve. Vote Steve Meredith for State Senate.
We've been talking all day, but it is a team effort, and you were just going over some numbers, and I'm not going to sling it out there too bad. Hold on a second, I got that thing going in the background. How you're comparing on teacher hires going into the new school year already at this point versus the summer point is amazing when you're comparing to other schools, when you look at their launching platforms for hiring and stuff like that. And y'all are equipped, your bench is full, and I think it's just amazing. But you had some other things that you wanted to bring a light to, and I'd like you to take us there for a second.
Yeah, so I feel really good about where we are as we lean into hiring for the next school year. There's a couple things, and again, I was set up really well coming in as personnel director. Mr. Bill Adams, my predecessor, Ms. Crystal Tate, who I get to work with. We are a team, and some things that I've inherited that we are going to continue that I think are impactful. Team Meade Recruiting Night is one. Also, our education pathway at the high school. We have hired a dedicated teacher for that pathway, and we are staying tethered. It's grown, and we are staying tethered to our alumni from that pathway who want to become teachers in the future. So we have this list, this recruiting board, whatever you want to call it, so we don't forget who to really reach out to and go after year after year. Hey, we have Team Meade Recruiting Night coming up, February 20th, whatever day it's going to be.
Right.
And we send personalized invitations to our people. So staying tethered, growing our education pathway, having our own Team Meade Recruiting Night in our county, and the outreach to our people.
Sure.
Something else that I think helps us, and I've learned this as the new personnel director, we give our intent forms to all of our employees in January. And that's basically where all of our employees sign and say, I intend on coming back, or I intend to retire. So we start learning our numbers in January.
Very good.
Yeah, I've learned other school districts do that in February, March.
No, February's FAFSA time. There's the wheels spinning towards graduation. There's a lot of things going on in February. The cyclics of a school year are intense.
Yeah, and by law, we're allowed to post positions February 1st.
Okay.
So those intents going out in January to Dr. Martin, it's critically important.
Right.
So we can start setting ourselves up to post positions for the next school year on February 1st. Well, we were able to do that this year, and so we've been hiring and working on all of those hires that are going to set us up for success since February 1st. Well, before February 1st, but we posted February 1st so we could start working on them, So I just think those are some bits and pieces that really also affect where we are, and we're in a good spot with only 15 certified positions posted right now.
Sure.
And some of those are going to be hard to fill. Special ed's always hard to fill. Science at the high school, any high school positions.
Everybody's watching that wants to come teach science.
Yes.
Please call the board.
Hey, I got a great experiment in exothermic theory. I'm just saying. It involves an MRE heating packet, but anyway.
Yeah, put a little plug in there. Reach out to me if you want to work in Meade County School.
If you want to do science, show up. Very cool.
Yeah. So those are just a few little tidbits that I think really do help impact, our number, our vacancies.
I would probably 100% agree with you. Definitely a practice that could be shared across many other districts. But, Dr. Martin, you had three things that you were focused on in this year that you've been building on. Would you care to share those with us?
Yeah. So, just generally speaking, hope's a great thing. Hope's something we all need. We have to have belief. Hope's not a strategy.
Nope.
So I think what we've been able to accomplish, these past years with the strategic planning process will give a good cadence
Right.
for how can we move forward as a school district during my tenure and when I'm not in this seat anymore. So next year is going to be a reset. We're going to say, you know what, the first half of the decade was successful. We're going to go through a strategic planning process in 2024, 2025, similar to what we did in 2020, to where we say the first half of the decade was good, but what are we doing? What's that look like, sound like for the second half of the decade to say the year 2030 is here? How do we continue to elevate the district?
Right.
So going back and listening to our people, listening to community members, business leaders, putting focus groups together, a steering committee, surveying the community, the parents again. We're going to go through that process. And I'm going to tell you a few things I think will emerge from it. When we talk to our employees, they're going to say, how do we improve the employee experience, right? We're already seeing during our rounding, I end with an index card, like, what can we do between now and 2030 to improve your experience and keep you connected to Meade County Schools? How do we have an employee fitness gym for just employees? How do we have employee childcare? So our teachers, and we've got a couple of them out there, are really good teachers. They're like, I'm going to have to take a year or two off because of childcare. Well, how can we help bridge that for them, right? How can we provide more services? But then what I would say we're providing for our employees, but also our community, is the safety badge I'm wearing right now. There's things you can do outside of paying people to make people feel connected
secure
and safe. What we're doing, being the first in Kentucky to implement the strategic Checkmate Safety Solutions badge, it's special. We've had 18 school districts visit us in the last month or two, from Bowling Green to Louisville, that I think they're going to start seeing 2 or 3 districts pop. But thank you to Nucor Steel of Brandenburg, to Monument Chemical, Rick Keeber. Another one that's coming that we previewed to the community back in February that Ms. Schmidt is directly working with our medical team on, and that's the Cumberland Health Healthy Kids Clinic. We're going to go from 10 years ago when I first came, we had 1 or 2 nurses. We're going to go to 8 school nurses, a nurse practitioner, a site manager that was just hired last week. And they've done this in 25 other school districts from Bowling Green to Hardin County. That's an example of we value, number one, our students, and also our teammates, right? We want to continue to provide services to make this the first-class school district. So I'm just so excited about the future and where we're going. But it comes back to we've got to put it on paper. What gets put on paper and measured. You can't have improvement if you don't define it.
Measures
you can't
of
have
performance
improvement if you don't measure it.
Measures of performance and measures of success.
So culture, measure, intentionality. I think those are the things we're doing well that we've got to continue to keep our eyes on the right spot. And I'll say this in kind of closing. It's great to set goals. A lot of times we get outcome focused instead of process focused. I think what we've done well in recent years is we wake up every single day dedicated to our processes of improvement, and that has yielded the results. Sometimes we get too focused on the results and the goals, and we don't do the process well. So I believe that we're in a good spot with that, and with great leadership from Ms. Schmidt and all of our 600 teammates. We're doing awesome things for students, and we want to serve this community.
Teamwork makes the dream work. Hey, I'm so glad you guys came into the studio today. It was such an exciting time. Honestly, I'm pumped. I'm ready to see what's coming next year. We got 300 papers that go out to the schools right now from us. Thanks to all the sponsors that sponsor that help cover the cost of getting that out there. And then we'll start new sponsorship for next year, beginning 1 October. It runs for a year. They get advertising spots. It helps us get that. But 300 of our papers go out to the schools for the teachers who want it. So teachers, if you're listening in to the big man, the boss, and the other big person, Janette, I'm telling you that they have your best interests in mind, but they also have the best interests of the district, and most importantly, the students, so that they can get the best education they can. Guys, I just want to say thank you for coming into the show.
Appreciate the opportunity.
And you guys are awesome.